Hey, everybody. Welcome to our championship edition of Breakfast with Bob from Hotel West End in beautiful Nice. My name is Bob Babbitt. We're brought to you by Master Spas, SFuels Go Longer, HOKA Let's Fly, deboer wetsuits, Form Smart Swim Goggles, Zoot Sports, the original triathlon brand, Quintana Premium Plus Sports, and, of course, our Challenged Athletes Foundation. Our next guest, the Ironman World Champion, Mr. Sam Laidlow. How you doing, Sam the man?
I couldn't be better, Bob.
You couldn't be better, right? What's funny is what you did last year, your MO, the way you race, is exactly the same as this year, right? Say you go off the front, right with the leaders out of the swim, go off the front of the bike, and say, "Come catch me." Last year, Gustav said, "I'll catch you," and this year you had 12 minutes on the guy that all of us were worried about, Patrick Lange, and you end up winning your first ever Ironman World Championship, and I don't think it's going to be your last.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
To be honest, even if it is my last, it doesn't really matter. I've done it now, and that's what I wanted to achieve. My two main goals in the sport were to win the world champs, and then to eventually be bigger than the sport itself. So find a way of giving back. And
yes.
So now we'll see. I'm not saying I'm just like stopping my attempts and stuff. Obviously, I still want to win more, and
right.
And I enjoy high performance, But yeah, I mean, what's crazy that like nobody really saw it come in, even though I clearly did it or close to last year,
yeah.
And somehow I managed to fly under the radar, having had a rocky season, and yeah. In hindsight, everything. I'm a big believer in the fact that everything happens for a reason.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I think everything fell in place. So many small things. Like, for instance, when I first got my Ironman license, I had to choose between English and French. And we didn't really know. Originally it was I really am 50-50. And being French here really meant a great deal, I think, and really brought it home. I think. The crowds. For me, it felt like I just had to run 35k instead of 42 because every time I hit these 2k here, I felt like I could do anything basically.
And the crowds, we were talking to Magnus. He said the crowds were crazy all day long.
Yeah, I mean it's a real contrast to Kona. Kona's it's a very lonely race, and that's kind of what makes Kona so special as well. And it's good for that, but. Yeah, it was nice to get the opposite end of the spectrum. I think it's not something I've witnessed in Ironman yet as such. I witnessed it in Roth, but yeah, I think this was similar,
Roth, you had a calf issue, hit about halfway through. You ended up going back to 8th place. And, I was worried because when you have calf issue, they can take a while to heal up. How concerned were you? Because this was the goal.
Yeah, I mean, I think... I think I posted a thing when I got that calf tear saying, well, I'll see what I can do. Obviously my goal is still to be ready for Nice. And so I kind of prepared for the worst situation, thinking that I could maybe just about be ready for Nice. But actually it ended up going really quite quickly,
Yes.
Within 2.5 weeks, I was walking again. And then, I'd had a really consistent winter of running, which meant that when I got back, it was okay. But generally, out of the 3 disciplines, that's where it's what comes least naturally to me, running. So it's also if I drop, if my level drops, if I do a week without running, it takes me 4 weeks to get back to it, But if I don't swim for a week, I mean, I'm not that far off.
Right.
It takes me 2 or 3 swims probably to get to a very similar level,
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, it just went super smoothly, and I think I just came into this race, or my goal for this race was to come in with the same mentality that I did last year in Kona.
Mm-hmm.
Just really realizing that I'm grateful to be here and just enjoy the opportunity. I think I listened to just a very short snippet of Jan's interview with you, and he spoke about just seeing it as an opportunity, seeing all these races as opportunities, and not necessarily. And when you see it like that, you don't feel the pressure quite as much,
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it's an opportunity that you can grab on a good day, but it doesn't matter, if you don't, it's just part of it. And I said in the press conference before, before the race, I was quite confident, and I was the only one who was vocal about it. I said I will win this race one day. I just don't know whether it will be Sunday or not. Whatever happens on Sunday is just part of this process that I'm on to get there.
Right.
Because deep down, I believe I've got it in me. And but luckily it was Sunday.
So there was a point there on the run course where I think Jan actually was cheering for you. That's had to be pretty cool. A guy who's won this race 3 times.
Yeah, definitely. I was at the beach bar last night with him, and I went up to him and thanked him for finishing. I really admire that. For me, I think it for me to win, and for Jan to have finished the race, to have raced, albeit not at his best in his best day, but I was truly grateful for that. It's something that, same again, I had as a kid growing up. I had 3 real idols to race. And they were Javier Gomez, Alistair Brownlee, and Jan. And I've raced all 3. I raced Gomez in Cannes, so not far along the coast when I was 19, I think.
Yeah.
And then with Alistair, we had a breakaway last year in Edmonton, at PTO Edmonton.
Yes.
And then now Jan finally. So yeah, I feel like my Pokemon set is complete.
I remember back in, it was 2007 when Chrissy Wellington won in Kona. And right afterwards, she said, I realize that I have a platform now. I realize when I win the Ironman World Championship, it's different than winning any other race, and that I can encourage young women, young girls. So she understood right from the moment she won. And it's different than winning another race. This race makes you an ambassador for the sport. And I can tell you embrace that. You want to be that guy.
Yeah, and what's crazy is that that switch almost flipped for me already last year.
Yes.
From coming second. I think it's because the way I race, because of my strengths of swimming and biking, I get most of the TV time,
Yes.
And also the fact that I'm young, and that before me and Magnus and other guy and Clement, there wasn't really a thing to go straight into long distance, you know. And I think that is a message that I want to put across, is that there's nothing wrong with doing Ironman young, as long as you prepare for it. And actually, I've seen, so that normal route of doing like really high, like short when you're younger and go to long. I've seen it do harm to kids, including myself. Because there's federations that are pushing, just they're doing high intensity every day, and it's not helping necessarily their growth or their hormones or etc. And they're just tired, for 3, 4, 5 years,
Yes.
And but I think, I generally think it's healthier to go and do like a 3-hour easy cycle than it is to do 40 minutes flat out,
Right.
And I think it develops your aerobic capacity, and I mean, there's this so Pogacar, who won the Tour de France, his coach Inigo San Milan, he does a lot of research into cancer and stuff, because basically cancer is people who have a dysfunction in mitochondria. And so to cure that, he looks at the opposite end of the spectrum of people who've got extremely healthy mitochondria,
Right.
And it happens to be guys like Pogacar, So it's I generally think that doing aerobic activity, endurance, is really, really good for your health, And so, I don't think there should be a fear of kids wanting to go long. And I hope what I did yesterday can inspire a few, and I hope that I won't be the youngest Ironman champ for long. I hope that the record can be broken quite quickly.
I think you're the first person in history to use the word mitochondria during a Breakfast with Bob interview, which is awesome. I love that. But you know what? Your point is so well taken, because I've seen it where people come in and they chase the Olympic dream. And the hard part about the ITU racing is your personality somehow disappears, because everybody's sitting in. It isn't necessarily the best person who wins, it's the best tactician. Here, the best person's winning the race, especially on a course like this. There is no question that when you're off by yourself doing the bike and doing the run, that it's you against you.
Yeah, that's always what drew me originally to non-drafting events, is that to me it felt more honest,
Yes.
But then again, there's something special about the Ironman distance where it's not just fitness, it's there's something else, there's deep motivations that come into play. There's how fresh you are, it's but I agree for half Ironman, and it's the fittest guy, the fittest guy wins the race, it's just a very honest. And it was the same with all the 5150s and all these non-drafting events, you know. And I know I'd have liked to give them a try if they were around, But it's Ironman is special, and anything can happen, 2.5 weeks ago or 3 now, I was laying in bed with COVID, and now I'm world champ, So it's it's crazy.
At that point, when you find that you've got COVID, did you feel this was done?
I think my mentality switched a bit. I was like, okay, right, like I've been dealt these cards, and now I have to like just play my game, you know.
Right.
And that was just part of it, you know. I'd been through a rough season anyway, so it didn't really matter, you know. I kind of felt like the pressure was off a little bit, but of course it was difficult because, yeah, as I keep saying, like obviously I had that great performance in Kona last year, and then since then I haven't had an Ironman performance to kind of back it up, and so there was these rumors going around that I was a one-hit wonder and stuff, and
that's your next tattoo, right?
Yeah, that's my next tattoo. Yeah,
one-hit wonder.
Yeah,
that is wonderful. When you hear those dots, because you think about it, before you get second in Kona, nobody was talking about you online, right? I mean, there's a certain positive that comes the fact that now you're front of mind, and people are lovers, haters, whatever, but they're talking about you, which is, you know, I remember when with my magazine, the key was passion. If people are writing letters, either loving what you're doing or hating what you're doing, they're passionate. If they're vanilla, no one cares, right? That
exactly.
Passion.
Yeah. You don't get Marmite, do you? In
no.
You don't get. Do you know what Marmite is?
No. What's Marmite?
Marmite is like this. It's like this spread. You like Vegemite in Australia.
Oh,
you know.
I hate Vegemite.
Their slogan is like love it or hate it, basically.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think that would be a good sponsor for me.
That would be a good. Love it or hate it, Vegemite. You can get another tat for that as well. So when you have a race like you had last year, and we've chatted about this before, but you did everything right? You did everything right. You come off the bike, have a 2:44 marathon, which I think if someone said beforehand you're going to run 2:44, you're going, I'm Ironman World Champion. Yeah, in Kona. I'm going to run Ironman. I'm going to be Ironman World Champion. And it took Gustav to run a 2:36, break the course record to win the race, right? And you get second, but all you can do is tip your hat and go, on that day, I had a great race, he was better. That's all you can do. When you came home from that, did you go over the race and feel like, okay, I did everything right? Or did you come back and go, well, where can I find 2 minutes?
I definitely always knew that there's a lot of room for improvement in pretty much all three disciplines. My dad and I think, especially cycling, I can still get quite a bit more out of that.
Yeah.
Obviously, it depends how you want to play it. I could try and train to run much faster, but in the past we found that when I try and do that affects my cycling, you know, and so it's difficult. I think I can get down to 2:35, 2:34, but my goal isn't to run like to race the race like Patrick would, for instance.
Right.
You just, as I said before,
you play what your skills are.
Exactly, yeah, and that's what I did extremely well yesterday. You know, I took a risk on the bike, like really pushing it to the limit of what I was capable, and I knew that it would mean that I probably wouldn't have my best possible run. You know, if it was just if I'd cycled probably 5 minutes slower, I reckon I could have done. My dad and me think I can do 2:37, 2:38. My training partner, who I train all the time with, and we're very, very similar. He ran 2:37 yesterday, I think second or third fastest.
Who's that?
Arthur also. He came.
Yes.
Yeah. He came sixth, but so that's really, really good for both of us. But he had a terrible swim. Yeah, it was 6 minutes down.
Okay.
Or something. So when he's kind of got a mental. Just a mental blockage with open water swimming, so he's all right in the pool, but once we get that sorted, he'll be up there, and will be the next Norwegian hype train.
You think, yeah. So with Patrick Lange, right? We all know the guy he's run 2:30 marathons. We saw it at Roth, and you mentioned beforehand. Hey, people say that Patrick ran 2:30 in Roth, but he was so far back it didn't matter. You were like, he's a good cyclist. You knew he was a good cyclist. You knew he was going to be a factor here. And when you come off the bike knowing you've got 12 minutes on him, it's still not that comfortable because he could run sub 2:30.
Yeah. I mean, although from the outside it looks like really controlled and stuff, everybody thinks, he just won it. He just walked it. But it's, right into the last 100 meters, I'm still not sure, in an Ironman, like you could have a cramp, you could have a meltdown, anything can happen literally. And credit where credit's due. Patrick is getting faster year by year, even though the years are going by for him. So it's really impressive to see.
So 2:30, he ran a 2:32, broke the Ironman world record. And last year you ran You ran 244 this year. You run 241. You run 241 last year. You're two-time Ironman winner, right? But the cool part is you continue to get faster. Patrick had, he broke the course record on the run and still couldn't get you. So you when you look at your race, we from the outside go, you had the perfect race. Do you look at it that way?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the key factors in that was making sure Patrick wasn't in the front swim group, and that came down to me. I was the one who put in a surge to make the swim pace high for a solid 1,500 meters.
Yes.
And yeah, when you're in the water and you see there's a few people around you, you're just like, oh, is it really for me to do the work, But
nobody else was going to do it.
In the end, it was worth it, yeah. But I think I can improve my swimming. It's not something I've really devoted myself to, and I hope I can reach a level where I do come out on my own. So I think that's generally possible.
Is this time to just celebrate, or are you still racing?
It's time to get my hands dirty and help, with my parents' triathlon. But no, it's definitely have a break and just let it all settle. Well, I probably won't have a break straight away because obviously there's commitments and
right.
And with me being the first French world champion and stuff, there'll be a few.
You think?
Yeah, maybe a trip to Paris or two, but we'll see.
So how important was that? You're the first French Ironman World Champion doing it in Nice. That's pretty damn special.
Yeah, it's insane how quickly the French long distance scene has improved. It's gone from before last year in Kona, the best ever finish was Cyril Viennot, who came 5th, I think, or 6th. And other than that, we'd had like nothing pretty much.
Yes.
And like suddenly, I came second last year, and there was 3 or 4 French in the top 10 or 12, I think. And now there's 4 in the top 10 and a French world champion. And yeah, I think we're going in the right direction.
A couple years ago when I was interviewing Gustav, last year, I was looking at his ITU race results for the year before he won 70.3 Worlds.
Yeah.
28th, 34th. When you are going through that and you feel like you're having a good race, but you're not getting results, I was like, well, how did you know that you were going to be great next year? He says, I could tell I was improving. Is it hard when you're doing those ITU races to see improvement?
I never quite raced at their level. I stopped at European Cup level.
Yeah.
But it's there's a big part of just pure running talent that comes to ITU. Just obviously you have to work hard still. But I mean, I could train however much I wanted. I'm never going to run like Hayden Wild over 5K, or Alex Yee. But yeah, it's. I'm glad you mentioned Gustav because obviously he was here like yesterday, and that meant a lot. I spent a lot of time with him in Singapore, and we were both a bit in a deep dark place. I got there, had COVID, couldn't race, and he crashed and had a bad
lost his mom.
Bad day, and lost his mum, and obviously just a very, very tough season. So yeah, I mean, people have a short memory, and I hope he doesn't get forgotten that quickly because he's got it in him to win another few world titles if he wants, and on a course like Nice, he'd be a hard man to beat on his best day. You
say people their expectations go up when you get second Ironman World Championship. You won 2 races this year, and I know you've had the calf issue at Roth and had COVID, but just looking at it from an outsider, I would look at it and go, okay, this guy had 2 wins this year and hadn't really had wins before, so that's a good year.
Yeah, definitely, and especially given everything else that kind of got put on my shoulders, since the second place in Kona, like suddenly my life was much more complicated, and I also just before Kona I'd met my girlfriend, so I had to become a partner and an adult and all that. Before I was just a kid,
single guy having fun, wearing a cowboy hat, wandering through life,
just training and eating and sleeping, and now you have to do dishes and.
Oh my God!
Yeah. People don't realize.
So, is the
I'm trying to negotiate with my girlfriend if for a month or so I can just say no, I'm world champ. I don't do the dishes.
I don't do any of that stuff. She makes the meals.
No. I'm not like that, but she does do a lot for me. So.
As well, she should. So when you come off of something like this, and it's such a huge high. You mentioned, my goal in life was to be an Ironman World Champion. You sort of grew up with this sport, and the Ironman was it. So now that you've done it, it's a lot of people are like, I can't wait to win second. I win a number 2, number 3, number 4. Then other people are like, I got my world title. I can do a lot with this.
Yeah.
How are you looking at it?
Yeah, that's exactly kind of, as I said before, I think I still enjoy seeing how good I can get,
yes.
you know. But if I never win one again, it doesn't really matter, you know. It's all a bonus from here. But I definitely want to challenge myself in other aspects of life as well. You know, it's I feel like I've achieved what I want in sport, but maybe not in other. I've never really tested myself in anything else. You know, whether it is in business or this or that, or so. We'll see. Yeah, I want to maybe expand my image, you know, and then use that wisely.
Create a great platform to help other people.
Yeah.
And I do agree with you. There's a lot of kids who get beat up in the whole ITU circuit with coaches and people in blazers and all that type of stuff, where it's freeing to come to these races.
I mean, there was a girl at the finish line yesterday who was 13, and she came to me and was like, "Oh, you're my idol," blah blah blah, and that was really crazy for me, because it's not like to see somebody that young to have an idol. It's rare to see somebody that young having an Ironman as an idol. You know, before it was generally these people would look up at whatever Alistair Brownlee or this or that. So I thought that was pretty cool, and I could definitely see there is a switch going on there. And she was there to watch her dad race, and she was generally inspired. So that was amazing.
The Ironman has been it used to be you get an Ironman when you're older and slower. Yeah. Now you and Magnus and some of the other guys are changing that whole game. And the sport needs to get younger to be successful. Yeah. And you guys are at the pointy end of that to bring new young people into the sport to say, this is pretty cool to do this.
And it's funny because originally like Jan came from short course and kind of showed all the slower guys, you know, that he could go much, much faster. And now there's this new generation that are born kind of into the sport, you know, and that's always what my dad predicted. He said, well, like the sport was too young before. Now people are being born straight into triathlon, you know, and so I don't really have a weakness, you know. I'm okay. My running is my weakness, but
you're
it's
still
a 2:41,
fast.
you know. Before your weakness was like a 3-hour marathon, you know, or something. So, it's really exciting, and I think we'll just see youth being more and more performing at a high level in Ironman.
I love it. Sam, congratulations.
Thanks very much,
happen
mate.
to a better guy. I really appreciate you've always been so generous with your time, and you're going to be doing great stuff for the sport for years to come. Love it.
Thanks, Bob.
Our Ironman World Champion, Mr. Sam Laidlow, joins us. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll be right back.